You either believe that every human being has a soul and that that soul is sacred, or you don't. Um, Atheism lends itself to believing that you don't have a soul. A lot of people adopt a philosophy called utilitarianism. And the tagline for utilitarianism is the greatest good for the greatest number, right? The idea being you're looking to minimize the number of people suffering, um, and I can't speak to a philosopher's understanding of it, but that certainly seems to be the understanding of a lot of people who espouse utilitarianism, is that it's the greatest good for the greatest number, period, and end of story. um, and the problem that I see with that philosophy is that um, there is no substantive consideration for the rights of individuals in a utilitarian frame. If everyone gets free lunch, if only we kill Bob over there, there's a utilitarian argument to be made there because everyone needs lunch, right? And that's the greatest good for the greatest number. We just had to kill one guy so we could all have lunch. That's a ridiculous extreme, I'll grant. But when you boil down most utilitarian arguments, that's it. That's the whole shagunga there, right? Most political arguments are utilitarian arguments. It doesn't matter if you're on the right or on the left. You are arguing for a great good that you see for all people. All people need to adopt my political philosophy, and then everything will be grand. That is the nature of most political debates. Now, the interesting thing with most political debates is they all accept, before the debate even starts, the idea that we do need a violent ruling class to impose our solution upon everybody. That's baked in to every argument over politics that you'll see on the news, and most of what you'll see on YouTube, right? The argument is, well, if my guys are in charge and can violently force what I want to have happen, the world will all be hunky-dory. Taking this in a different direction now. Charlie Kirk was a fierce advocate for a mainstream Republican conservative point of view. And he had a lot of good points. He had a couple blind spots. His biggest blind spot was that he was absolutely willing to use the violence and power of the state to affect the political changes that he wanted. He may or may not have acknowledged that. We'll never know, because someone shut him up with a bullet, allegedly. So I saw a little meme or something. It was had Charlie Kirk's face on it, and it said Je suis Charlie, which is a callback to a number of years ago. There was a news publication called Charlie Hebdo in France, out of Paris, I think. And in France, they were having a problem with terrorism, Muslims committing terrorism in France. And um, Charlie Hebdo publication had a cartoonist that was making political cartoons about what was going on in the country and in the world. And they committed the sin, according to Islam, of putting an image to the Prophet Muhammad. They drew a picture of him, and the extremists, not all Muslims, but and it was probably offensive to most Muslims, but the extremists threatened the magazine and said, "Stop doing this! Stop doing this!" And they said, "No, we're going to do that. It's freedom of speech. I don't know what you're talking about." And then one day, I don't remember if it was a man or a group of men, stormed into the Charlie Hebdo office and shot everyone up. And that was thereafter dubbed the Charlie Hebdo massacre or something like that. And one of the taglines after that event was Suis Charlie, right? And the hearkening there I thought was very interesting with what happened with Charlie Kirk, because it has to do with shutting up debate, but with violence. Now, I'm not saying Charlie was not advocating violence. He absolutely was. He was arguing in favor of a political party that would have a monopoly on violence. That's what politics is. It's arguing over who gets to control the guns and stomp people that disagree with them. That is fundamentally what a political argument is an argument over who gets to control most of the violence. That's the whole argument. But Charlie's weapon of choice, Charlie Hebdo magazine's weapon of choice, was the pen. It was making an argument. It was satire. It was trying to get people to think and engage in conversation. It was trying to put things out there with a new perspective so that it might land on new ears or eyes, so that you could consider something differently. He was engaged in discourse, albeit his aim, in my opinion, was violent control of people, but his tool was words. And as long as the tool is still words, it's still a discussion. To the extent that we consider our society civilized, we should be aiming for discussion over violence, I think. Now, there are people who view words as very dangerous, and they are right. Words have the power to change a mind. And I gotta tell you that mind control has been the holy grail of propagandists for 100 years. More than that. But it became a formal science with Joseph Goebbels, or whatever his name was. Goebbels, whatever. We have been systematically attacked with words and ideas for a long time, and certainly it ramped up over the last 100 years. You can see it in patriotism, appeals to the flag, appeals to God, appeals to anything that people might hold above themselves as an authority. We have had TV shows that are trying to get us used to certain ideas. There was a concerted effort here to I guess the word's normalize gay relationships in our country. And it worked. It worked very well. And I'm not speaking against it, but my point is that was done largely with the TV. The TV aired sitcoms that had gay relationships and even had gay relationships where they were trying to adopt and raise children. Like, they normalized that for the American public through the TV. It's a very open campaign, which is why I mention it, because you can look it up and you can see that, oh yeah, they did do that. That actually was an effort that they did. But it's not the only thing they've done, and it's certainly the rosiest thing they've done. If you look into our history of, mind control in the United States, military and university attempts at it, it's quite dark. Like, we've had some people do some pretty screwed up experiments on individuals that we know about, and they've got programs that they push out to the people as well. Not too long ago, I think it was Obama in 2012 signed something that said, oh yeah, no, that ban we had on propagandizing the American people directly with federal funds, yeah, we're not doing that ban anymore. We can propagandize people now. We're allowed to do that. And he just signed an order, or I don't know if it was a law. It might have been a formal congressional law that he signed. It might have been an executive order. Either way, since at least 2012, the U.S. government has been operating under the assumption that they can propagandize the American people in, whichever direction they would like. You have to know that the mind control is out there. So mind control is important, which makes speech, free speech, especially dangerous to people who would want to control you. As much as I don't like some of the stuff Charlie Kirk was advocating for, I really don't like him being shut up. And I really don't like the idea that in response to this horrible, I'll call it a terrorist attack, that we should change our norms around free speech. That we should say, oh, well, some things are more dangerous. We should curb this. There are a lot of people calling for censorship, and have been for years. It's been, the COVID thing. All the people trying to get the wrong doctors to shut up. All the people trying to get the wrong pundits to shut up and stop platforming people who had ideas that you didn't agree with. Like, that was going on. It's been in high gear since 2020. Let's put it that way. It's been going on before that, and something shifted. A switch was flipped in 2020, and we entered a new stage, a new level, a new gear of propaganda. We were propagandized heavily in 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, and now in 2025. We have been under a constant onslaught of propaganda. And the idea that we would shut up people for communicating ideas that are contra-narrative is, it's really shooting ourselves in the foot, or neck. We got to do better. We got to talk things through, and we have to be honest. I might put Larken Rose's "Be Honest" in my description again. It's one of my favorite talks about political discourse. And what he's doing is he's encouraging everyone to be honest about what it is you're actually advocating for. And that's one of the things that I think Charlie Kirk didn't always do a great job of, because I think he had a blind spot, or he thought he was so right that the blind spot didn't matter. Anyway, but the idea in the Larken Rose video, and I will put it in the description because I've now said his name a couple times, his Just Be Honest video, he's basically saying, think through the policy ideas that you advocate. Policy is like, okay, well, everyone's got to do this because this is the policy, right? If you've got a policy idea, like, oh, people shouldn't own guns, for example. Well, what do you mean from a policy point of view? So, well, people shouldn't have them. Okay, well, so how are you going to make sure that people don't have guns? Oh, well, we're gonna make it illegal to have them. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, people will be, arrested if they have these guns. Oh, okay, so what does that mean? Will be arrested, right? So how do you arrest them? Oh, well, I guess you send the police after them. So you send men with guns to go get the other guns. Well, yeah. Does it matter if this person is a good person, if they've never committed any violence against anyone and they own their gun and they have been peaceful? No, it doesn't matter at all. They shouldn't have it. So you're advocating that someone go in, kick their door in, violate the sanctity of their house, and take that gun from their possession. Like, it's his encouraging of us being honest about what we're discussing when we talk about policy. We pick your policy, but then think it through, right? And I think that's an important thing to include when we talk about politics. Like, okay, well, hold on. You got this great idea. How do you want to implement it, right? What sovereign rights of people are you willing to trample on in order to get your aims achieved? What amount of violence are you willing to commit upon your fellow man in order that your great idea come to fruition, right? We need to have conversations that are that honest. And any conversation that isn't that honest and speaks at the heady level of what should be without even acknowledging that there's a sticky issue in implementation, those ideas are mental masturbation. They are inherently dishonest because they gloss over the violence that is at the core of the policy enforcement. So Charlie Kirk, Charlie Hebdo, Suis Charlie. Free speech, ideas, be honest. I think that's it right now, guys. It's crap right now in a lot of spheres. People that aren't paying attention, they probably look really happy. And they're probably hiding a lot of pain right now because what's going on in their checking account might be pretty freaking ugly. What's going on their credit card statement might be pretty ugly. And inflation continues to march on. A lot of people are struggling. A lot of people are grasping at straws and proclaiming loudly how other people can fix their problems. I'd like to encourage us all to think things through and to be fundamentally peaceful in the ideas that we put forward. That's hard. That's really hard because it's difficult. So please think things through. Please have compassion for your fellow human beings out there. We're all feeling the times right now. Let's just put it that way. And you got to know that what we're feeling right now is part of that mind control push. It's part of that managing the masses. The UK actually had something they called a nudge unit, which was to nudge political popular opinion in the direction that the government wanted it to go. You are under experimentation by your governments. You gotta know that. And not only the governments, but the people who, hold the marionette strings, right? I mean, those politicians, some of them believe they're crap, but a lot of them will say anything for a lobbyist or to stay in the club that is pretty sordid. That club, you got to know that these are not good people. These are not our betters or our greaters, right? So be mindful of your mental space. Be mindful of your emotional space, and try to attune yourself to what is actually real in your actual life Be aware of the news, I guess, but don't let the propaganda screw you up. It's hard right now. It's really hard. Don't let the propaganda screw you up. Don't let the liars sneak their way into your souls, into your soul. All right? Take care. Have a good one.